Hi, I'm Bronwyn Clyde.
Hi, I'm Tom Redd.
Hi, I'm Jenny Williams.
Hi, this is Holly Evans.
Hi, this is Bruce McAvaney, and you're listening to Hooked on Sport.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining the relaunch of Hooked on Sport. It's been 4 years, but like an impulse online purchase, we're returning. Now this series should be as familiar as the smell of hot chips at the footy. The new Hooked on Sport will seem a lot like my old Sunday Mail column, except now you can just listen instead of read. If you liked what I wrote, you should enjoy this, and it's far safer to listen than read while you're driving. There's plenty of variety in the pipeline, but for now, I'm here to share what's captured my attention each week. I'll list my 5 favourite SA sporting stories, tell you what's hooked me in, and fire off about what's bewildered me in By Hook or By Crook. These episodes will be short, punchy, and filled with sporting stories that scream only in South Australia. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and tell your mates that Hooky is back. Now let's dive into today's show with our weekly segment, SA's Best.
Number 5.
At number 5 this week in my SA Best, Kathy Fellows. Who, I hear you ask? Well, forget Port's Josh Carr or Adelaide's Scott Burns. Kathy Fellows is hands down the best assistant coach in the state. I reiterate that, hands down. So just who is Kathy Fellows? Well, she's the assistant for the Adelaide Thunderbirds netball team and has been a secret superpower behind their back-to-back Super Netball victories. There is nobody in world netball who understands opposition tactics and how to defeat it better than Fellows. She's Adelaide's defensive coach and has crafted a veritable fortress of Shamira Sterling-Humphrey, Latanya Wilson, and Matilda Garrett. Collectively, they're the most miserly defence on the planet, and Fellows is their whisperer. As a support for the guru coach Tanya Obst, Fellows has been Adelaide's silent assassin. Never in the spotlight, she's usually buried in a laptop studying a rival's on-court trends and scheming how to counter it, then conquer it. Now, Fellows will coach Australia's under-21 team to the World Cup next year, and her ascension to coaching her own elite team will be a fascination. But of all the thieving done against the Thunderbirds by the other 7 Super Netball clubs, most notably the Melbourne Mavericks, they all missed our golden nugget. They pinched Eleanor Cardwell, Maisie Nankivell, and Coach Tracy Neville from us. Fair enough. But while the Mavericks spent last year drinking quality South Australian red, they left the Penfolds Grange on the top shelf. Kathy Fellows firmly belongs at number 5 in this week's version of SA Best.
Number 4.
At number 4 in this week's SA Best, Anthony Choate, who is a professional athlete competing in one of the world's most lucrative sports. And if you have no idea who he is, don't worry, even Choate, a professional golfer, will probably understand. At 46 years old, Choate has been swinging clubs on the pro golf circuit for over 15 years. His best performance? A tie for 7th at the New South Wales Open 3 years ago. It drove him to his highest ever ranking of 1,310. Outside of Pro-Ams, he's never had a professional tour win. Yep, Choate's a long way from an invite to the Masters anytime soon. But he had one other glaring omission from his resume. Choate had never managed to snag a hole-in-one. That's right, despite playing quality golf for virtually all of his 46 years, starting on the scenic yet slightly unforgiving slopes of Blackwood Golf Club, Choate had never witnessed one of his tee shots finish in the cup. Even genuine scrubbers get lucky once, right? Well, in July, Choate finally nailed his first ace at Tin Can Bay in Queensland. Just 5 weeks later, the golf gods smiled upon him again, sinking another hole-in-one to close out the 3rd round of the Papua New Guinea Open. None for 40 years, then 2 in a month. Golf, you're a fickle beast, but we love you anyway. SA golfer Anthony Choate's back-to-back aces is my number 4.
Number 3.
At number 3 in this week's SA's Best is Keith Slade of the Orroroo Football Club. Now, you find me a country footy club, and I'll find you a true legend of community sport in amongst it. Foot soldiers with an inordinate dedication to the game reside in every corner of South Australia. But for a rover, Keith Slade stands incredibly tall amongst all of those unsung heroes. Slade played his 500th game for the club last week. Remarkable when you consider the fact that Slade lives in the remote hamlet of Blinman. It's a 2.5-hour drive to a home game, almost 4 hours to a few of the far-flung reaches of the Northern Areas League. Wife Lisa and their 3 kids joined Sladey for many of those rollicking car rides. Across his playing career, he's played in 6 A-grade flags and done it all on wobbly knees and an even wobblier kicking technique. He's been club president for the last 5 years. Imagine 3 hours in the car just to sit through the monthly footy club committee meeting. Keith Slade, in my book, you're a legend of South Australian sport, mate. And this week, you're number 3 in my list of SA's best.
Number 2.
Okay, time for the silver medal this week. Brighton Lacrosse Club. It's eyeing a new chapter in their domination book as they chase a 7th straight flag in the next 3 days. The Bombers women have been as unstoppable as a toddler in a candy store since 2018, when they barely edged out Woodville 10-9 after trailing by 2 late in the final quarter. Talk about drama. Since that nail-biter, Glenelga's been the dance partner in every grand final, but have never really been a serious threat. This year, though, it's those feisty Warriors who are ready to give it another go. Brighton's best bit? Well, it's a family affair. The Williams girls, Melissa, India and Zephyr, have played in all 6 of these flags. Sisters, you ask? Nah, it's even better than that. Melissa's the mum, showing that experience and skill can definitely keep up with youth on the field. To put this dynasty in perspective, Brighton has been in every grand final since 2008, made 25 of the last 26 deciders, and are within striking distance of Seacombe's record of 9 straight titles from 1972 to 1980. The Bombers are flying high and might just set a new benchmark. They're number 2 in SA's best.
Number 1.
If there's a more heartwarming tale than Glenunga Football Club's Cinderella story ride from pauper to pace setter, it deserves a gold medal, a parade, and possibly its own Disney movie. Once upon a time, the Rams were Division 7 underdogs, so far down the ranks that you needed a telescope to find them. Fast forward to today, and they're top of Division 1 in the Adelaide Footy League, about to host a home second semi-final and eyeing a Division 1 crown like it's the Holy Grail. Back in 2010, they finished 3rd in Division 7. Yep, you heard that right. Division 7. They were barely in the conversation, let alone at the top of the heap. But from those humble beginnings, the Rams clawed their way north, jumping up the grades like a diligent school kid. By 2015, they'd muscled into Division 5. By 2017, they'd claimed the Division 5 flag, then promptly went and won Division 4 the next year because apparently winning is addictive. They hit Division 3 in 2019, made it to Division 2 in 2021, and now here they are, Division 1 powerhouses. They finished the minor round top and boast Abe Davis as captain, who by any measure is the number 1 player in the league. On Tuesday, Davis became just the 4th back-to-back winner of the Keith Sims Medal in its 123-year history. Glenunga's rise to the top is no fairy tale, it's a full-blown epic. And right now they're the king of the Adelaide Footy League mountain. Who would have thought? Certainly not the folks back in 2010. They're number 1 in this week's SA's Best.
What's hooked Hooky in?
What's hooked me in this week? Hockey SA's Play-In Championship Series. I suspect traditionalists are rolling their eyes so hard they might detach retinas. But I'm going to fly its flag. This season was trimmed by 7 weeks and all 8 teams made it to finals. Sounds like a recipe for chaos? Oh, absolutely. But it's chaos of the chef's kiss variety. Imagine this. All 8 teams get 2 finals. Then the quarterfinals are like a showdown at high noon for teams ranked 3, 4, 5 and 6. The winners go on to face the top 2 in the semis, which is where we find ourselves this coming weekend. And finally, the last 2 standing will duke it out on the grand final. There's now 9 matches of ultimate consequence instead of 4, and less times for the stacked teams to set themselves far apart from the battlers. It's got a reality TV feel about it, but with sticks and balls and way fewer commercials. Hockey SA's Premier League has had a talent divide for much of the last decade. Adelaide, Port Adelaide, Seacliff and North East, well, they're living it up in first class. Meanwhile, Forestville, Grange Royals, Burnside and University are stuck in the middle seat in economy and the plane has just run out of snacks. But hey, tweaks like this can shake things up and rekindle the fire in a sport. Does it fix every problem in hockey? Of course not. I mean, the Big Four have again filled the semi-final spots. But can it be a spark for greater equality on the field? You bet. SA Netball and SA Cricket have already added their own little shot of creativity themselves. Sports like golf and even the SANFL footy could benefit from a fresh twist. Oh, and SA Lacrosse, congrats on making it to the Olympics. Now let's get that Olympic version to take centre stage. So yeah, I'm all in on this wild ride. I'm hooked on Hockey SA.
By hook or by crook?
So there are a few issues to stew over this week. The gap between the AFL minor round and its final series. The gap between the Olympics and the Paralympics. Both have been proven momentum killers and demonstrate that going dark is a bad business strategy. But one newspaper piece caught my eye this week and gave me cause to breathe a hefty sigh of relief, because irony is alive and well, at least in the sport pages of the Sunday Mail, most notably in veteran opinionist Graham Corns' weekly column. Last Sunday, Cornsey chose to attack the words of Port Adelaide President David Koch, who lit fire to the club's relationship with the SANFL. Here's what Koch said on radio station 5AA after Port Adelaide's SANFL team won the wooden spoon. The SANFL have got what they wanted, Koch said. They wanted Port to be last. They rigged the rules, and we can't wait to be out of there. Cornsey chose the Sunday Mail to return serve. Let's forget for a moment Corns also works for 5AA and could have left his response on air during his Saturday show. But I guess all advertising is good advertising, especially when someone else is paying you to advertise it. Either way, Cornsey's arguments, as they often are, were strong and fair. Corns, an SANFL loyalist, described Koch's comments as mischievous, misleading, even snide, and went on to say that an apology might help to soothe the troubled waters. As for Koch's claim the SANFL rigged the rules, Cornsey was even more emphatic. For an intelligent man, it's a ridiculous accusation and one that can immediately be dispelled by the facts, Corns wrote. In the past decade, Port's SANFL team has played off in 3 grand finals, 2 of those that lost by less than a goal. It would take a genius to rig those games. Nobody rigs anything. That's what Cornsey wrote in the paper. Now, I actually left out a sentence in the middle. Let me share it. Although Chad Corns, who coached Port in the 2017 finale, might claim they were competing against more than the players in the double blue Guernsey on that day. Now that came right before the words, nobody rigs anything. So Cornsey, while defending the SANFL, has implied its own umpires conspired against his own son to cost Port the 2017 grand final. The margin that day? Port lost by 1 point. But it was the umpires pulling the strings. Irony is alive and well at the Sunday Mail. Graham, to use your own words, those comments about the 2017 grand final were mischievous, misleading, even snide. An apology might help. And finally, the benediction. My closing prayers are for Live Golf, which has announced a February time slot for 2025. It begins on Valentine's Day. So to all the romantics out there, why not plan your next date on the watering hole? For Adelaide, Live Golf was love at first sight. And after a 2-year courting period, it's time for this town to embrace a long-term relationship with Live. Put a ring on it, if you like. The Grange Golf Club is Liv's current Adelaide home, a fine venue, and the members have gone out of their way to make it a success. But expecting the Grange to cast aside its core business and step up each and every year is unreasonable. SA needs to think about an alternative venue for the best golfers in the world. Right now, there really isn't a feasible option. Or is there? In the northwest corner of the city, on our famed parklands at North Adelaide, are 54 golf holes. 54. In Roman numerals, that's Live. With some enterprise, 18 of them could be transformed into a world-class stadium course. As a home for Live, imagine the hordes marching up to Montefiore Hill, then back into the city bars after the last putt is struck. And for the other 51 weeks of the year, North Adelaide Golf Course would become an incredible tourist destination, attracting cashed-up hackers for decades to come. Sure, it will take some investment, but if we're serious about settling down with Live, then it requires more than flowers and a box of chocolates. A recent economic impact report stated the tournament resulted in $71.1 million directed into expenditure in South Australia. Of this year's crowd, which was in excess of 90,000, 41% were from outside South Australia. They're compelling numbers. So Adelaide, let's get down on one knee and pop the question and make our live love permanent. For richer, for poorer, from this day forward. So that's it for the first episode of the renewed Hooked on Sport. Thanks so much for listening. So please subscribe, spread the word, and follow us on all the traditional socials. And feel free to get in contact. You can even nominate your own club or a local legend to feature in SA's Best. Hope to see you next week to share yet more great South Aussie sporting stories.